The Virginian was a groundbreaking Western series that captivated audiences for nearly a decade with its compelling stories and unforgettable characters. The show brought together a talented cast who became household names, but sadly, many of them are no longer with us. Some passed away peacefully after long and successful careers, while others faced tragic and untimely deaths. In this video, we pay tribute to 35 actors from The Virginian who have left us, remembering their contributions to television history and the legacies they left behind. Stay with us as we honor their lives and careers. Doug McClure played the charismatic and free-spirited Trampas in The Virginian from 1962 at age 27, bringing humor and energy to the series until its end in 1971. While he seemed carefree on screen, his real life was marred by professional struggles and personal turmoil. After The Virginian, he was typecast in westerns and found himself taking roles in B-movies, struggling to maintain relevance in Hollywood. He married 5 times, but none of his marriages lasted, each ending in heartbreak and legal battles. His daughter, Tane McClure, pursued acting, but their relationship was strained due to his alcoholism and absence during her childhood. As he aged, health issues and financial troubles weighed on him, and he was diagnosed with lung cancer in the early 1990s. Even in his final months, he tried to maintain his signature optimism, but the disease took over rapidly. He died on February 5, 1995, at age 59, his once bright Hollywood star long dimmed by an industry that had moved on.
Yeah, Maxine, how you gonna like ranching?
Lee J. Cobb brought depth and authority to Judge Henry Garth in The Virginian from 1962 at age 51, but behind his strong screen presence was a life filled with personal and professional struggles. A talented actor, he had once been targeted during the McCarthy-era Hollywood blacklist, forced to name names to save his career, a decision that haunted him for the rest of his life. Though he rebuilt his career, the guilt and stigma never left him. His marriages were troubled, and he was often distant from his children, preoccupied with work and his own demons. Plagued by health problems, including high blood pressure and chronic stress, he battled depression and feelings of isolation. His final years were spent in declining health, and he suffered a fatal heart attack on February 11, 1976, at age 64, his immense talent overshadowed by the weight of his past decisions.
Well, I'll send one of my hands down, show you how to use it.
Well, I would prefer not to learn, if you don't mind.
Well, Mr. Lilly, I don't want to be an alarmist, but a gun in the house is still basic.
James Drury became the embodiment of the Virginian, portraying the steadfast and disciplined foreman of Shiloh Ranch from 1962 at age 28. The role made him a household name, but it also trapped him in the Western genre, limiting his opportunities after the show ended. His attempts to transition into other roles were met with little success, and he found himself largely relegated to minor TV appearances. His personal life was equally fraught. Married 3 times, he faced the emotional toll of divorce and strained relationships with his children. The loss of his son, James Drury Jr., devastated him, leaving him withdrawn from much of the world. In his later years, he lived in relative obscurity in Texas, occasionally appearing at Western conventions as a relic of a bygone era. His health deteriorated, and he passed away on April 6, 2020, at age 85 from natural causes, remembered primarily for a single role that defined but also confined his legacy.
Tell Betsy not to wait up for me in case I'm late.
You know she will.
And keep the men busy, and if anything goes wrong...
Nothing's going wrong.
Sarah Lane joined The Virginian in 1966 at age 17, playing the kind-hearted and independent Elizabeth Granger. Though her role suggested a promising future, Hollywood left her disillusioned, and she retired from acting after the series ended. She married businessman John Scott and had a son, James, but despite outward stability, she struggled with a sense of loss, feeling that she had left behind a career that could have been more fulfilling. As time passed, she withdrew from the public eye, focusing on family but privately grappling with health issues. In her later years, she was diagnosed with breast cancer, enduring years of painful treatments while remaining largely forgotten by the industry that once embraced her. She died on March 3, 2023, at age 73, her quiet passing a stark contrast to the youthful optimism she once brought to the screen.
Why are you laughing?
You looked so surprised. I didn't mean to offend.
C.L.U. Gulager portrayed the tough yet principled Emmett Riker in The Virginian, joining the cast in 1963 at age 35. He brought intensity to the role, but like many Western actors, he struggled to escape typecasting after the series ended. His career became an uphill battle, with sporadic appearances in TV shows and low-budget films. His marriage to actress Miriam Byrd Nethery provided some stability, but financial hardships often loomed over them. In later years, he resorted to roles in obscure horror films just to stay in the business. As the Western genre faded from popularity, so did his presence in Hollywood, leaving him increasingly isolated. Despite his struggles, he remained dedicated to his craft, working into his 90s. He passed away on August 5, 2022, at age 93 from natural causes, his long and difficult journey a testament to both resilience and the unforgiving nature of Hollywood.
Now, see here.
Means we'd be much obliged if you stay.
Well, you've got no business with me.
Yes, sir, we do. Matter of fact, we was up to your place a while ago just after talking to...
John McIntyre took on the role of Clay Granger in 1967 at 60, replacing Charles Bickford. Clay was a wise and steady hand at Shiloh Ranch, a calming presence amid the chaos. In real life, McIntyre's career was long but unremarkable, often playing second fiddle to bigger stars. He found stability in his marriage to actress Jeanette Nolan, but their greatest sorrow came with the loss of their only son, Tim McIntyre, in 1986 to heart failure caused by years of substance abuse. The grief never left him, and he withdrew from Hollywood, aging rapidly. His later years were marked by declining health, as emphysema and lung cancer ravaged his body, making it harder for him to breathe, speak, or even move without pain. Once known for his deep, commanding voice, he spent his final days barely able to whisper. He passed away on January 30, 1991, at 83, his death bringing an end to a life filled with quiet suffering.
While back. No, my brother John. It was quite a drive then, but he did it with more than 8 men. Stone, take Travis and show him around. I want to...
Charles Bickford took on the role of John Granger in 1962 at the age of 71, bringing his signature intensity to the role of the strong-willed rancher. A seasoned actor, he had survived a near-fatal lion attack in 1935, which left him scarred and altered the course of his career. His rugged persona made him a perfect fit for westerns, but his combative nature caused frequent clashes with directors, leaving him labeled as difficult. Though married to Beatrice Allen, their relationship was more of a companionship than a passionate bond, and he remained distant from his children. As he aged, his health began to deteriorate, and pneumonia struck him in 1967, quickly turning fatal. His body weakened, and he fell into a coma, never regaining consciousness. On November 9, 1967, at the age of 76, he passed away, his long and tumultuous career ending with little fanfare as Hollywood moved on without him.
We're taking care of him for you. Now, if you hadn't treated him well, fed and watered him, he'd be afraid of you.
Ross Elliott, who portrayed Sheriff Mark Abbott in 1962 at the age of 45, played a steadfast and fair lawman, bringing reliability to the Virginian. Off-screen, he was never able to rise above being a supporting actor, his career defined by brief appearances rather than starring roles. Though he married Beverly Bartisbanian, their union lacked the joy of children, and as the years passed, they drifted apart emotionally. Hollywood, which had once embraced him as a dependable presence, soon forgot him, and work became scarce. As he aged, his financial situation worsened, and he found himself battling illness and near solitude. Diagnosed with cancer, he spent his final months in increasing pain, facing the disease with little support. On August 12, 1999, at the age of 82, he died quietly, his name barely making headlines, a life in Hollywood ending in near obscurity.
If you get sworn in to fill in for me here. Me and my deputy's been ordered south with more than 100 other lawmen.
We're going to bottle up the trails and head off those convicts. What convicts?
Jeanette Nolan, who played the nurturing Holly Granger, began her role in 1963 at the age of 52. As the gentle and compassionate matriarch of the Shiloh Ranch, she provided a stabilizing presence, though her real life was anything but serene. While she had a long and successful acting career, she lived under the heavy shadow of Hollywood's rampant sexism, often overlooked despite her immense talent. Though married to John McIntyre, their later years were filled with sorrow as they watched their son spiral into self-destruction. Tim McIntyre's struggles with substance abuse and self-doubt tormented them, and his early death in 1986 left Jeanette hollow with grief. She buried herself in work, attempting to drown out the loss, but loneliness crept in, the absence of her child an unbearable weight. In 1998, she suffered a devastating stroke that robbed her of her ability to speak, a cruel fate for a woman whose voice had once been her greatest asset. She slipped away on June 5, 1998, at the age of 86.
Yes, Hetty.
Can you take Johnny out, Shiloh?
Of course we can.
L.Q. Jones, who portrayed the loyal and hardworking Belden, started his role in 1963 at the age of 36. A rugged, dependable presence on screen, Jones had an unmistakable charisma, but his personal life was a string of disappointments. Though he appeared in many films and television shows, he never quite achieved leading man status, forever relegated to the background. His marriage to Nita S. Lewis ended in divorce, and they had no children, leaving him without a family in his later years. As age crept up on him, loneliness became his constant companion, the silence of an empty home a stark contrast to the bustling sets of his youth. Health issues began to take their toll, arthritis made movement difficult, his vision declined, and he found himself struggling with memory loss. On July 9, 2022, at the age of 94, he passed away from natural causes.
This fellow you saw standing over the body, did you get a good look at him?
If I ever see him again, I'll know him. Yeah, I got a good look.
Well, I guess his sister-in-law just couldn't keep it to herself when she got...
Frank Sully took on the role of Danny, the jovial bartender, in 1963 at the age of 55, bringing warmth and humor to the Virginian. His character was known for making everyone at Shiloh Ranch feel welcome, always ready with a joke or a listening ear. In contrast, Sully's own life was a series of disappointments. Despite appearing in over 250 films and TV shows, he remained trapped in minor, often uncredited roles, never achieving the recognition he longed for. He married twice, but both marriages ended bitterly, leaving him alone. His only son, Michael, distanced himself, blaming Sully's drinking and financial irresponsibility. Struggling with mounting debts, Sully turned to alcohol, which only deepened his troubles. By the mid-1970s, he was living in near destitution, relying on old friends for support. He died on December 17, 1975, at 67, from undisclosed causes, fading away as quietly as he had lived, his dreams of stardom never realized.
Would you like to drink?
Evening.
Evening. So you got a new attraction.
Very pretty, isn't she?
Mm-hmm. What's the matter?
Stuart Granger joined the Virginian in 1970 at 57 as Colonel Alan McKenzie, a dignified and authoritative ranch owner. Once a Hollywood leading man, he had starred in adventure classics, but by the time he took on the Virginian, his film career had dwindled. Granger despised television, seeing it as beneath him, but financial ruin left him no choice. His personal life was equally troubled. 3 failed marriages, including a bitter divorce from Gene Simmons, left him disillusioned. His second wife, Elspeth March, publicly humiliated him, calling their marriage a mistake, and his children grew distant. In his final years, he suffered excruciating pain from prostate cancer, which spread to his bones. Once proud and charismatic, he spent his last days in physical and emotional agony, lashing out at those around him. He died on August 16, 1993, at 80, having lost his fortune, his health, and his once great career, leaving behind a legacy tainted by bitterness and regret.
Sometimes I wonder whether it's possible for people your age to understand people mine.
Sometimes I wonder if people your age understand.
Roy Engel first appeared as Barney Wingate in The Virginian in 1963, playing the dependable and hardworking ranch hand at the age of 50. His character was steadfast, always willing to assist in times of trouble, yet Engel himself was a man plagued by misfortune. A character actor with a career spanning 4 decades, he never found the breakout role that would secure his place in Hollywood history. His marriage of 30 years to wife Eleanor was filled with strife, the couple locked in bitter arguments over money and Engel's obsession with his faltering career. They had 2 sons, Daniel and Joseph, neither of whom followed in their father's footsteps or maintained close ties with him. Engel's later years were clouded by illness and financial ruin, forcing him to take minor roles to pay medical bills. He died on December 29, 1980, at the age of 67, his cause of death never publicly disclosed. His passing was a mere footnote in Hollywood's ever-turning wheel, a fate he had feared all his life.
Hello, Mr. Evans.
Hello there, Betsy. Thank you. Betsy?
Hello.
Honey, would you tell your father we'd like to see him?
Oh, sure. Excuse me.
John Bryant became Dr. Spaulding in 1963, embodying the gentle and empathetic physician at the age of 47. His character was beloved for his unwavering dedication to the community, a stark contrast to the actor's own life, which was marred by personal misfortune. Bryant's career was a slow climb that never quite reached the peak he desired, with The Virginian being one of his most notable roles. Though he married once, the relationship ended in a devastating divorce that left him financially and emotionally drained. He had 1 daughter, Elizabeth, but his inability to provide a stable home life caused tension, and in his later years, she distanced herself from him. Depression took hold, exacerbated by health issues that limited his ability to work. In 1989, he suffered a fatal heart attack at the age of 72, dying alone in his modest Los Angeles apartment. When the news broke, it barely made headlines, just another forgotten name in a sea of former Hollywood hopefuls.
There must be something.
She's lost a lot of blood. I eased the pain some, but...
Johnny?
Stuart Nisbet, who played various bartenders on The Virginian starting in 1962 at the age of 28, brought a sense of familiarity and quiet comfort to the show. But while his on-screen persona was affable, his real-life journey was one of quiet suffering. Though he worked steadily, his name was never one to headline a marquee, and the struggle for recognition weighed heavily on him. His marriage to his wife, Pauline, was marked by constant tension over his unstable career, leading to long periods of separation. They had 1 son, Timothy, who grew up resenting the financial struggles his father's acting career brought upon their family. As Nisbet aged, roles became scarce, and he was forced into near retirement by the early 2000s. His health deteriorated, and by 2016, his body gave in to the ravages of time. He passed away on June 23, 2016, at the age of 82 from natural causes, his death a quiet end to a life spent in the shadows of the industry he had devoted himself to.
At the card table there, mostly storekeepers, men from town. Now, you want to know about Clay Granger, you ask them. There ain't one of them wouldn't give the shirt off his back to Clay.
Mark Tapscott played the skilled blacksmith in The Virginian from 1962 at age 38, crafting essential tools for the ranch while maintaining a quiet and steadfast presence. His character's importance was often overlooked, much like Tapscott's own Hollywood career, which was filled with bit parts and uncredited roles that never secured him lasting fame. Off-screen, his personal life was riddled with turmoil. He married twice, but both relationships ended in divorce due to financial struggles and his inability to maintain a stable household. His children, Sarah and Thomas, became distant, resenting his inability to provide for them. By the late 1980s, he suffered from chronic health issues and bouts of depression, exacerbated by his fading career and growing isolation. Struggling with financial hardship, he lived a reclusive life in his final years. He passed away on September 10, 1993, at the age of 68 from undisclosed causes, his death barely making the news.
Who'd you come to see?
A fellow named Frank Adams. He advertised in the Medicine Bow paper.
Advertised?
Now, that's real clever.
Lou Brown played Dink in The Virginian from 1962 at age 37, a cheerful and good-natured character who easily got along with others at the ranch. Though his character was beloved, Brown's real life was filled with hardship. His acting career consisted of minor roles, and he never managed to establish himself as a leading actor, leaving him perpetually frustrated. He married young, but his growing resentment over his stalled career led to constant arguments and an eventual divorce. His only daughter, Emily, became estranged, cutting off contact due to years of neglect. Brown suffered from arthritis in his later years, rendering him unable to work or even enjoy his few remaining passions. By the time of his death, he was living in near isolation, his name long forgotten in Hollywood circles. He passed away on July 27, 2014, at the age of 89 from undisclosed causes, his death barely making headlines.
Is that her? He's waiting to find out. Mort, stay here and pin him down.
Russell Thorson portrayed Sheriff Stan Evans in The Virginian, taking on the role in 1962 at the age of 56, bringing a sense of law and order to the town with his stern yet fair presence. A veteran of radio dramas, Thorson's early career in voice acting was successful, but his transition to television came too late for him to achieve widespread fame. His long hours on set and unfulfilled career aspirations took a toll on his marriage, leading to years of quiet resentment with his wife. The couple never had children, and as Thorson aged, he found himself increasingly alone. When westerns fell out of favor in Hollywood, his career faded with them, leaving him financially vulnerable. In his later years, a series of strokes left him dependent on caregivers, further isolating him from the world he once knew. He died on July 6, 1982, at the age of 75 from undisclosed causes, his death passing largely unnoticed in the entertainment world.
If you're short-handed.
All right, Pingree. It'll give you a chance to see the way we do things now. Without a rope.
Bing Russell, who portrayed the rugged Donovan starting in 1962, began his role at the age of 36. His character was a man of grit and determination, a survivor who could adapt to any situation. In reality, Russell had always lived in the shadow of bigger stars, never quite breaking through to true fame. Though he appeared in dozens of westerns, he was forever the supporting actor, never the leading man. His personal life was more stable. He married Louise Julia Crone in 1946, and together they had a son, Kurt Russell, who would go on to achieve the stardom that had always eluded his father. But beneath the surface, Russell struggled with feelings of inadequacy, watching as his son's career soared while his own remained stagnant. His later years were plagued by illness, as cancer ravaged his body, leaving him frail and unrecognizable. The once tough cowboy became a mere shell of himself, too weak to stand, too tired to fight. He died on April 8, 2003, at the age of 76. Ed Prentice played Carl Jensen in The Virginian, taking on the role in 1962 at the age of 54, portraying a hardworking and dedicated figure essential to the ranch's operations. Prentice had a long career in radio and early television, but he remained in the shadows of bigger stars, never securing widespread recognition. His marriage was long-lasting but filled with quiet dissatisfaction, more a partnership of necessity than love. His only son, Robert, harbored resentment toward him for prioritizing his career over family life, leading to a strained relationship. As he aged, Prentice suffered multiple strokes, leaving him physically frail and financially vulnerable. Mounting medical bills forced him into a difficult existence, relying on the generosity of a few remaining friends. He passed away on March 19, 1992, at the age of 83 from undisclosed causes, his death going largely unnoticed by Hollywood.
Do you really think you can get away with this?
That depends on whether you...
Myron Healy, who played the second drifter starting in 1963, began his role at the age of 40. His character was an enigmatic wanderer, a man without roots, always searching for something just out of reach. In many ways, Healy's own life mirrored that of his character. Despite his prolific career in westerns and crime dramas, he was never truly settled. He married once, to a woman named Joan, but their relationship was strained from the start. They had one daughter, Lisa, but Healy was an absentee father, more focused on chasing roles than on being present for his family. His drinking worsened over the years, alienating those closest to him. As Hollywood moved on from westerns, his career faded, leaving him desperate and bitter. In his later years, he suffered from severe respiratory issues, the result of years of smoking and neglecting his health. By 2005, he could barely breathe without assistance, and on December 21st of that year, he succumbed to respiratory failure at the age of 82, alone and largely forgotten.
I'm getting massacred. I wouldn't spit on you if you were burning up.
That's not very friendly, Cohen.
No, but it's honest. The gunner was a friend of mine.
Stephen Coit, who played the station master starting in 1963, began his role at the age of 43. His character was responsible for ensuring that the trains ran smoothly, a man who thrived on order and routine. In contrast, Coit's life was anything but stable. He struggled to make a name for himself, bouncing between acting and painting, never quite excelling at either. He married young, but the union ended in disaster. His wife left him after just 2 years, citing his erratic behavior and financial instability. He never remarried and had no children, leaving him isolated as he grew older. His later years were marked by quiet desperation, his once vibrant career reduced to occasional bit parts. His health began to fail, though the exact cause remained undisclosed. When he passed away on January 21, 2005, at the age of 84, there was no fanfare, no grand tribute, just a quiet exit from a world that had long since forgotten him.
That bottle, me.
Now the fat's in the fire.
Leonard P. Geer, who played the first outlaw starting in 1962, began his role at the age of 48, embodying the menace and lawlessness of a man hardened by life's brutality. Off-screen, he lived a similarly rough existence, working as a stuntman and wrangler for decades, often sustaining injuries that went untreated due to financial constraints. Despite his rugged charm, his personal life was a chain of failed relationships. His marriage to a woman named Evelyn disintegrated under the weight of his long absences and volatile temper. They had 2 children, both of whom grew distant, resentful of his unpredictability and his inability to provide stability. As work became scarce in his later years, Geer turned to alcohol, numbing the pain of broken bones and deeper wounds left by Hollywood's indifference. Heart failure finally claimed him on January 9, 1989, at the age of 74, a man who had spent his life playing criminals on screen but had been, in many ways, a victim himself. Sam Edwards played the meticulous hotel clerk in the Virginian starting in 1963 at age 48, ensuring the smooth operation of the establishment with his efficiency and attention to detail. His character was reliable but unassuming, a reflection of Edwards' own Hollywood career, which spanned radio, film, and television but never elevated him to stardom. Despite his long resume, he was often cast in minor roles, never breaking into the leading man category. His personal life was marked by loneliness, his marriage ended in divorce, and his only son, Michael, became estranged due to Edwards' obsessive dedication to his work. In his later years, financial difficulties forced him to downsize his lifestyle, and he battled periods of depression. Suffering from declining health, he spent his final days in a nursing home with few visitors. He died on July 28, 2004, at the age of 89 from a heart attack, largely forgotten by the industry he dedicated his life to. Norman Levitt, who portrayed the storekeeper starting in 1964, began his role at the age of 51, presenting a genial and ever-reliable presence in the town. Behind his kindly exterior, however, lay a life punctuated by obscurity and struggle. Despite appearing in dozens of television series, he never achieved stardom, always playing minor characters that audiences easily forgot. His marriage to Elizabeth Nielsen was a quiet and unremarkable affair, producing no children, leaving him with little family in his later years. As time passed, Levitt developed dementia, a cruel affliction that stole away his memories and left him wandering in confusion. In his final days, he suffered from severe dehydration, unable to care for himself, with no loved ones by his side. On December 11, 2005, at the age of 92, he died alone in a care facility, his name barely remembered in the industry that had once given him a modest place among its ranks. Dee Carroll, who played the supportive wife starting in 1963, began her role at the age of 38, embodying the warmth and steadfast devotion of a woman dedicated to family. Tragically, her own life was void of the love and security her character exuded. She married John George, a little-known actor, in what quickly became a hollow and passionless relationship, marred by unfulfilled dreams and lingering resentments. They had no children, and as she aged, the loneliness became unbearable. Her career, which had shown promise in the 1950s, stalled, leaving her struggling for roles as younger actresses took center stage. In her early 50s, she was diagnosed with an undiagnosed illness that led to numerous surgeries, each one taking a greater toll on her fragile body. A final, disastrous procedure resulted in complications that proved fatal. She died on April 28, 1980, at just 54 years old, her death barely making the news, another forgotten actress whose real-life tragedy overshadowed her fictional devotion. Who is your favorite character in The Virginian? How do you feel knowing that the actors have passed away? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you don't miss future videos. Thank you so much.